Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Welcome back. We're here for another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. It is your favorite real estate show, I am sure. And we've got your favorite real estate agent with us, Kelly Cook. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing great, Elizabeth. I'm doing great. It's good to be back. Had a little bit of time off, but now we're back ready to go. And this topic is very relevant. We're going to get right to it, as you guys know that we do. Quick hitters, a lot of content, nuts and bolts, no fluff. And we're going to get right to it. This topic is very relevant in today's market.
Yeah, absolutely. Today we are going to be talking about how to get your offer accepted in a multiple offer situation, which we know I feel like we keep saying this, like, oh, it's the most competitive market we've seen in so long. Oh, it's the most competitive market we've seen in so long. Like, and it just keeps getting more and more competitive. I don't know how many more times I can say it's worse than it was, a couple months ago, but here we are. So this topic is extremely important right now because I know that that's probably one of the frustrations that a lot of people are having is multiple offer situations. Obviously, you want your buyer to win. How do we do that? Kelly is going to break it down for us, some of the best strategies to go with that.
Absolutely. Now, one of these days, maybe we'll trademark some of these names and stuff, right? And whatnot. But for right now, we're all about nuts and bolts and delivering value to the community. So for those of you who are not as experienced, or maybe you are, but you just having a heck of a time and don't have some really, really good coaching, this episode is for you. Okay, so here we go. There are different stages. Okay. Number one, with the process of getting your offer accepted. Okay. Not that we're going to hit everything and by no stretch of imagination, am I saying these are all of them and there's nothing more that's out there, because that's not the case. These are just the ones that are possibly the most important ones, the ones that we use on my team all the time. Number one, the pre-offer. Okay. The pre-offer includes the big C word: communication, and more. You guessed it, communication, right? Over communicate, guys. I'm telling you from a listing agent standpoint, if all things are equal in 2 offers or 10 offers, and one agent is not just communicative when the offers are all in, right? Asking what's the update, but communicative on the front end during the process, kind of posturing themselves and their client, right, as the best one for this seller, they will win. They will win because they'll be highly suggested by me to the client, and the client will probably say, okay, let's go ahead and do that, because guess what? All things are equal. All right, outside of that. So communication, guys, can't overstate that enough. I can't tell you how many times I talk to agents who are frustrated about this, and what they say is, when I ask them questions, we break it down. What we find out is they didn't actually communicate, or definitely not over communicate with the listing agent, believe it or not. Before the offer, and of course, after the offer is common sense. Okay. Most important thing on the pre-offer side. The other things that you need to consider are when you submit the offer. A lot of people do the letters, the personal letters, right, from the family or the buyer, whoever they are, as well as a nice write-up and a picture of them with the dog and the kids, maybe, right, that kind of thing. And it does tug at the heartstrings a little bit, and sometimes it does matter to the seller, right, when all things are equal, right? That being said, I would go one step further, right? If you're going to do that, I would also make sure, here's a nugget too, guys, make sure your client, if they do this, make sure your client addresses the seller by their name. On the listing side, I literally had all things equal on the offers, the situation we're just talking about, right? And they both actually submitted letters, okay, with pictures. One of them, you could tell, was a templated letter because they had been, trying to get offers out on the properties at some point in the past and just were not having success. One of the reasons why is because they're putting, they put hello, comma, or to whom it may concern, comma. Whereas the other person said, dear Nancy, right? And Nancy said they addressed it. By the way, she pointed out, not me. One of them said my name, the other one did not. And they're all kind of the same. So I'm going to go with Nancy, right? Or not, excuse me, not Nancy, but the buyer that said Nancy. So very important, guys. the most important word to someone's ears in the English language or any language for that matter is their name. Okay. Use it. All right. The next thing, go one step further here, Elizabeth, is I would prepare a financial package for the sellers as well on behalf of the buyer. Why? Well, if they're getting financing or paying cash, for that matter, you have to provide all these financial documents to the lender, correct? You already have to do it.
Tons
So
of
why not
stuff.
just, yeah, tons of stuff, W-2s, 1099s, tax returns, bank statements, all this stuff, right? Maybe a profit loss, whatever you have, the lender requires. So why not take the time about 2 weeks in advance or sooner and prepare that package that you got to give the lender anyways and give that to the seller? Because here's the deal. A lot of sellers, they get the pre-qualification form from the buyer and they go, yeah, okay, great. They're all pre-qualified. You got to have that. But sometimes that paper, especially in some states more than others, is not worth the paper it's actually written on, right? Because the lender can just get out by saying, oh, you know what, I hadn't reviewed their 4506T or whatever, right? The transcripts. Now, you name the reason and they can easily get out. There's no feet held to the fire, right? But if you say, not only am I giving you the pre-qualification form for my lender, I am actually providing my financial documentation I'm giving my lender to you to look at right now so you can determine for yourself if you think with the, whatever knowledge you have on financing, then I would be a good candidate to get your house, right? Huge, huge. And then the next thing is have your lender call the listing agent. Big step that a lot of people miss too as well. Well, if you have a good relationship with the lender, he or she should be happy to do that because that's a loan for them, right? It just makes sense. And then the listing agent is hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that, hey, I've been working with this person. I have all the financials. They have been written through desktop underwriting or whatever it is. They are good to go, solid as it gets. Okay. So that's like all the steps on the pre-side, right? Just getting ready. You get the communication. You got the letter from the buyer. You have the financial package from the buyer. You are addressing the letter in the first name to the seller, right? Find it on tax records. Not hard to find, right? And then you're having the lender call the listing agent as well. Guys, this is all done prior to or at the time that you make the offer. Okay?
So we haven't even gotten into writing the offer or anything like that at all. It's all just the preparation. Yeah.
Preparation.
Setting
That's
yourself
right.
up for success.
Bingo. Bingo. And we could go into different case studies on some of these things that we've done as well. But I gave you a couple of hints already or a couple of nuggets already that, you know, hey, address, take the time to address and sign, like wet sign the letter, right? As opposed to just like type your name and not sign it at all. I mean, all that stuff matters, especially, hate to say it, but the older demographic of the person is that's selling the house, the more that matters to them, right? Because let's face it, you know what, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, no one did emails hardly, right? I mean, it was all, or text, it was all letters and diaries and things of that nature, right? So they appreciate it even more. So keep that in mind, right? Know your audience. All right, now we'll dive into the structure of the offer here a little bit as well. And by the way, if we don't cover everything in detail, we will do that in a subsequent episode, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think this is so much stuff. I think this is going to need to be a two-parter.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can do more case studies that way too, right? Of like actual scenarios that we've gone through just recently here in our town of Scottsdale and Phoenix here in Arizona. All right. So structure the offer. Now, when you have the offer, you have to, it's like a puzzle, right? Take all the different pieces the contract allots for and take them as they are. They're individual pieces, separate them, look at them, think of how you can put that puzzle together for what's best for your client. Okay. Because you're fiduciaries to your client. Now, number one, your reputation matters as an agent. Okay. So that's why no matter how annoying some other agent may be bothering you, you always take the high road and be complimentary and thank them and so on and so forth. Because guys, you never know when the time will come in the future where you have a client and that person has the house or vice versa or whatever it is. And now you need them to push and promote your client's offer to hopefully get it, right? So always
Relationships are good to make.
huge,
Absolutely.
huge. And I'm very honest, when I was young, because I didn't have a coach when I was young, and I don't think in 2005 teams were even really a thing back then. A little bit, but not much. And so I just kind of went out there and hustled, right? So I didn't have that information, and I thought that I was competing against everybody, right? The other realtor here, they're not my friend. No, no, no. I'm going to beat them. I'm going to sell more real estate. I'm going to outsmart whatever. And that's just so silly, right? That's scarcity mindset. I did not have that abundant mindset, which now I do and have had for years. But they're going to help you sell the property. They're not your competition. Yeah, they might be on a specific house you're both trying to sell and get that agreement with the seller, but that's just one time out of many, many houses, right? So don't have that small mindset, guys, okay? Like I did, all right? Learn from that failure. All right, so now reputation matters and communication. Now you're structuring an offer, you're talking with your client, you want to communicate back to your client and find out exactly what is going on with their situation. Okay, now, if you can, always try, if you're finding out that there's going to be probably multiple offers or there already is a couple offers, I like to always find out when the deadline of those offers are, okay? Not a subjective deadline. Listen, we're going to make sure we're going to cut this thing off by Sunday at 5 p.m. Perfect, now I know, okay? Because then I will purposely try to have my offer be towards the end. Why? Because then I hopefully can get some information out of a listing agent that is valuable to potentially tweak the offer. For example, if I call at 3:30 or 4 on that Sunday afternoon and they say, yep, I got the other 3 offers in, and I ask them, okay, well, do you have any more offers that you're expecting? No, just probably yours. Okay, perfect. Now that you have all information at hand, can you just, Jim, can you just help me out here a little bit, please? Like, give me some insight. What, Kelly, I can't tell you what the offer is. I understand that. I get that. Okay. Do you have any cash offers? Okay. Financing matters, right? Okay. Yeah, I have 1 out of 3 are financing. Okay. And your offer is not going to be cash. So now you have to, these are all things that your pieces of puzzle you're making mental note of or writing down, right? Okay. And then you try to ask them other questions that will fit into buckets, but maybe not get the right answer, right? So, okay, you got 1 is cash. Okay, how good is it? Like, your price point's $400,000. Is it leased over or is it under? I mean, okay, is it under? Can you just give me, right? You just ask these questions, right? You say it.
Try to get the answers without having them say the exact answer.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so, like, without going into a full blown role play, right? You guys get the point, I think, right? So, and you'd be surprised, guys, how many listing agents, either because they don't know any better, or because they're just after chasing the almighty dollar and that one deal, right? And they're not really doing the best job for the client, will sing like a bird. It's for better or for worse, they do sometimes, right? And then for you take the information and say, oh, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then hopefully you get the deal. But the reality is, if you call or send me your offer first, if you have a hard deadline first, on Saturday, a day before, whatever, then, if you ask them, hey, what are you thinking? They honestly, whether they want to sing or not, like a bird, they won't be able to because they don't know, right? So it's better to have that information if you can be towards the end of that scenario. Another valuable question to ask is, are you going to be, is it potential that your seller will just choose the best offer outright out of the 3 or 4, or will they probably do a multiple counter offer no matter what? Very important question. Why? Because if you know that they're going to potentially just accept the best offer out of the gate, then you got to be prepared to go
highest and best.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Otherwise, you can maybe like, well, I think the other buyers might be around like 395, 398, but probably not over 4. So I'm going to just come in right at 4, right? Whereas if you know that if they could maybe do the best out of the gate and you would pay 410, even though it's over asking, then you just do 410, right? Or an escalation clause up to it, which we can talk about here in a second. Okay, so now with financing, you have FHA, you have conventional, you have jumbo, you have 5-1 arms, 3-1 arms, 7-1 arms, 10-1 arms, all this other funky stuff, and you have VA, right, for veterans. So we won't go into all that, right? But the point is, a lot of these, even unconventional, right, they'll allow for the sellers, or even jumbo for that matter, they'll allow the sellers to pay part of the buyer's closing costs. Good luck on that one, right? If there's multiple offers.
I don't think that happens so much these days.
No, we're not seeing hardly any of that. Now, the good news, especially in lower price points, like in Arizona, my goodness, the lower price points are just going, right? Because you have not just regular buyers, you have first-time home buyers, you have investors, and it's really crowded space, right? And so that those affordable housing houses are starting to not get as affordable, right? And so And then there starts the beginning of the bubble, right? That's a proverbial bubble. It's eventually going to, probably alleviate some wind out of their air at some point here, right? Okay, but for right now, we got to get our client's offer accepted, and we got to keep moving. So escalation clause. We'll hit a couple more of these, then we'll go into our next episode, right? Kind of keep the cliffhanger here for you guys. But escalation clause, okay? In that same example, where the asking price is $400,000, in that situation, and your client will pay 410, you have to ask them, what will you pay? They say 410. I pay 410. It doesn't matter what that asking price is. Okay, perfect. Then you could do $400,000 or a 395 offer in that scenario, whatever. But you're going to write an escalation clause in which you will beat any other offer by a monetary value, say $2,000. 1,000 gets to be like, is it really worth it for 1,000? I don't know, to the seller. So 2,000 is pretty good though, in this price point. You'll beat any other offer by $2,000 up to a cap of $410,000, and the seller has to prove that, in fact, they do have another offer that's higher that triggers that escalation clause, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, here's side note, as a listing agent, if you're smart, now you know what that buyer will pay, right? 410. So if you're smart, what you do is then you say, everyone else, because let's say no one else is close to 410, everyone else, we're just going to put you aside, and we're going to one-on-one counter you directly at 410.
So then you don't have to necessarily have that other buyer that you're competing against where your offer goes up. You can directly counter offer with that one buyer.
Yeah, they say, well, hold on, you have to show me proof. No, we're not doing a multiple counter offer. So no, I don't. We're just giving you the opportunity to buy it at 410. What do you think? And when I do that, again, most people don't do that because they don't realize or understand that. But when I do that, the seller's like, man, that is awesome. Because in theory, because of knowledge that I have and any good agent would have, you just made them an extra $10,000+, right? Just because whereas otherwise, if you didn't know any better, you go to the seller, okay, here's what they have. Our highest offer is at $398. So technically that triggers the escalation clause because they said offer $395, the escalation clause. That triggered it to be $400. So that's what I guess that's what we should counter back, and we'll have a deal at $400. Congratulations. Well, that's not bad, but you could have $410 if you had an agent that knew what they were doing, right? So experience matters. Okay, so just be aware of that on the buy side, right? Okay, now we're going to talk about these things on the next episode, Elizabeth, okay? I'm just going to give you a little preview. The structure of the offer from the standpoint of your contingencies. Appraisal contingency, earnest deposit, loan contingency, potentially a buyer contingency, which when they have a house to sell first, right? Inspection period, post-possession, pre-possession, any type of appraisal rebuttal, got a great one for that, and a flexible closing date where the seller gets to choose, okay? So we're gonna cover every single one of those, but I'm gonna leave you with a case study, and we'll cover this with our next episode as well. That case study is this. We just had a client, okay? The listing price is $599,900. They had a bunch of people interested. They sandwiched everybody into an open house for 2 hours on a Saturday. Okay, everyone came through like a bunch of cattle, right? And people were interested. Agents are talking about they're gonna make an offer and it's gonna be strong, over asking, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so now knowing that, our client has a house to sell that's not on the market yet, by the way. Okay, is willing to pay over asking price for the property. So how do they get the house? By the way, there was 4 other offers that came in, okay? And they're all over asking. So with a buyer contingency, which is not as strong, what would you have to do to structure a property, or how would you guys structure it to get your client the property when they have a house to sell as well? Okay, so if you just be thinking about that, guys out there, right? Like, what would you suggest? How would you structure that deal? What would you waive? What would you give up? What would you pay? What questions would you ask the listing agent? That all matters. Okay, so we're gonna leave that as a cliffhanger, and we'll discuss what actually happened just this past weekend.
Ooh,
in the next episode.
This is a real cliffhanger. Oh, geez. All right. Well, you guys tune in next week then, because I am dying to hear the end of that story. And then, yes, we will have all of those other how to structure the offer to make sure that your client wins in a multiple offer situation, which I know is is happening so much right now. On the other side of that, not having to do with this topic, but I did want to mention things we've talked about before. If you're interested in building your real estate team so that you can teach them all of this wealth of knowledge that you're learning about how to win in a multiple offer situation, Kelly, where can they learn how to build a team of their own?
Yeah, absolutely. I got this great, awesome document. It'll be emailed right to you. Just go to buildyourrealestateteam.com and fill out your information. Boom, come right to you. And it's a 7-module step of how to, in succession, in the right order, right, build your real estate team. So
yeah,
check it out.
And if you have any questions about that or anything else real estate related, if you want to hear all of Kelly's secrets, where can they reach you, Kelly?
Absolutely. On my cell, 480-227-2028, or email kelly@kellycookhomes.com.
All right. We'll see you guys next week for the ending of that cliffhanger we're leaving on.
Absolutely. Right. I'm excited.
Bye.
See ya.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.